Welcome back to another episode of the 59er Winder Show. This is episode 6. Figured I'd do just a quick update on this guitar. Remember when we did an open heart surgery on the faulty neck pickup, which was one of mine that I replaced on warranty for a customer, and then I kept this one to dig into it. We fixed it, and just wanted to show that it works. This is in humbucker mode. I got the mic off the cab. It's sitting in front here. I'm going to try to bring in some better sound. I'm always trying something new every time I'm doing a video because I am learning as I go. I don't do this for a living. I'm not a pro. I'm actually surprised I've gotten this far making this many videos and not not shitting the bed too hard. But this 557 is still working. Whatever issue it was, it's been repaired. Still out of tune. Whatever. And then split coil. So it works. So that repair worked. Everything's good there. I guess it was just one of the cold solder joints on the coil wire attaching to the thin wire that we fixed up. We did both of them, so it could have been either one of them. So that's that. I figured other than that, I have put new strings on my number 1 Les Paul, which is actually not a Gibson. And I figured we could do a tabletop restringing, show you how I restring Les Pauls, and look under the hood, right? You can look under in the pickup cavities and the control cavity. I don't know, it might be something fun and different. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe I'll learn something. Or maybe we'll just be bored at the same time, hanging out, and then we'll have the weekend. To any American viewers, if I have anybody from the States watching this, happy Thanksgiving. We had ours a while back, so we've got nothing till Christmas. But we do have the cold weather now. Yeah, so let's go tabletop. We'll restring my Replica 59 and just kind of look at that and wrap it up. Here we are tabletop with this luthier-built 59 Replica Les Paul. I'm not going to name any names. I'm not sure how that would go. But this is an awesome guitar. What I love about it most is that it feels like an old guitar. It doesn't feel like it's new. And the fact that it's had one pair of hands to bring this from raw lumber to what you see here, minus a couple upgrades or modifications that I've done. But for the most part, one person has brought this whole thing to life. One person with hand tools and the whole bit. And then these are my pickups. So I need to restring it. And so we're going to do that. I'm also going to put so I was testing this tailpiece out. I think I'm going to put the one that came with the guitar back on. I don't know if they're making a difference. They're both lightweight aluminum, but they're from different manufacturers, so they do have a different ring. I was kind of testing that, right? A lot of this stuff that I do is very, very nerdy A-Bing and to the point where my ears will hear frequencies that probably wouldn't have had I not spent so much time paying attention to the little nuances of different magnets, different winds, different bridge parts, the whole bit. And bridge parts do make a difference in the overall acoustics of the guitar. And I'll be the first to admit, even as a pickup maker, that pickups aren't the voice of your guitar. They transfer basically they're like microphones, but they do filter sound, change the EQ curve of it a bit. But for the most part, they're translating the natural acoustic characteristics of the guitar through to the amp. And a good pickup gets out of the way of the guitar and lets a good guitar shine. So if you get a good guitar that sounds really good acoustically, odds are it'll sound awesome plugged in no matter what pickups are in it. And I call those guitars pickup proof. Pickup proof meaning that it doesn't matter what you put in there, it'll sound like that guitar with that pickup's filtering or shading or coloring or whatever you want to call it. So this is one of those guitars. These are FiftyNiner Vintage Custom Alnico 4s. And yeah, so we're just gonna do the boring old bit of taking the strings off. Major thing that is not a, yes, I've read this. I don't spend a lot of time on forums, and I'm not active or don't have accounts on them because there's a lot of people talking there that you don't even know their credibility, right? But as far as I'm concerned, there's no harm in taking all the strings off and putting all the new strings on. Some people will say, oh no, you can't because the tension of the neck and stuff. You got to do one string at, no, you don't. You don't have to do one string at a time. You cut them all off. You don't even really have to loosen them up that much. Just cut them off the whole bit, right? Otherwise, refretting or conditioning the fretboard or doing a fret job or whatever would be a big no-no, because you'd be having to take all the strings off. There's a lot of bullshit online and a lot of people flinging it around like they know what they're talking about. I've got my experience doing this, and so I go by that. And I haven't been wrong yet. So, strings pulled off. Clean up the board a little bit. Not that it really needs it too much. I'm not really, my hands aren't really acidic. Some people will kill a set of strings in an hour, but I'm not that way. I'm just gonna give the pickups a quick clean up here. And there you go. That's it with the strings off. Just to give you a quick, try to do that over here. Sound difference between this aluminum piece and this aluminum. This one here is actually lighter than this one by just a bit. I don't know if this is going to translate through the video. This one here has a slightly higher pitch ping. This one has a bit more resonance to the ping. I don't know if that's translating through video. We are filming through my iPhone, so, but I am hearing a big difference between the two. This one's a little higher pitched. This one's more resonant. This one's lighter. So basically, it's you know, they're both aluminum. So different compositions of aluminum, different grades of aluminum. I don't know. But I was testing this one. It sounded good. Now I'm going to go back to this one and see if one sounded brighter or if one resonated better with the guitar or not. We'll see. But that's one thing I'm going to test long term. All right, so before we restring this thing, I'm just going to pop the pickups off so we can see, so I can show you guys what that looks like underneath on a replica. So this is not a Gibson, not from China. This is luthier-built from a guy out in Stouffville, Whitechurch, just north of Toronto. It's like a the Canadian Burst. So here's the first pickup out. You can see it's a FiftyNiner, one of mine. I only go 4. You can see the long neck tenon in there. Nice clean route. A little bit of hair over here, no big deal. Bit of chipped finish. That was done by me. Trying to get the old pickup out. It was very tight in there and it chipped up some stuff. But yeah, that's what it looks like in the neck route. So as I said earlier, these are the FiftyNiner Vintage Customs with Alnico 4 magnets in it. And for some reason this isn't fitting. There we go. One trick I always do when putting screws back in, I'll put it in the hole here, and then back it off until I feel, I don't know if the video is going to capture that, but you'll feel a little snap, and that's the threads kind of lining up. And then you just drive it in. That way there you're not cross-threading the threads in the wood. On the USA standards, the traditionals, the classics, the mounting rings are not as tall. These are vintage spec mounting rings, butyrate mounting rings from Philadelphia Luthier Supply out in Philadelphia. Pardon for my sniffing. I do have some kind of weird allergy thing going on. Whenever there's a pressure change, my sinuses like to tell me to F off. But these have the vintage dimensions and style and coloring stuff. So there's another 59er. Vintage custom. So vintage custom because I hand age the covers and the screws. But that's it. There's all the wire in here. That's what that looks like. Pretty much like a Les Paul, right? Well, these routes are really tight. So this became my #1 favorite Les Paul really quickly, mainly due to the neck, right? The neck shape has that. It's not like the Gibsons that are made today, not even like the custom shops. It has this, it's hard to say. It's a beefy, thick neck, but it doesn't feel as big as it is because the carve is less squared off. It's not a V, but it has a nice smooth carve to it. The shape, I can't really show you the shape of it without cutting the neck in half, and I'm not doing that. Okay, so you saw the pickups, you saw the routes. Let's go show you what I'm rocking in here. I've had a few pickups in and out through this thing before, so it's not going to be the cleanest, prettiest cavity. We'll go over a few things. So we've got some CTS pots, and here you'll see it says Gibson. That is a Gibson pot. For some reason, I bought 4 new pots for it. And the tone pot on the neck pickup, for some reason, had a weird taper where you get nothing, then all of the tone off the last like little bit. I swapped it with this one, and it seems to work fine. My go-to ones, as of now, which I'll probably be redoing this whole thing in the near future, is getting WD CTS pots that are 550K. One thing you got to check, if you've got a Les Paul, like a USA standard or traditional or whatever, and you find that it sounds dark or muffled, get the pots checked, because Gibson was notorious for putting 300K pots here, and if you got 300K pots, it could read anywhere from 270 to 320K, and for humbuckers you're going to want 500 at least. So 500K pots, you'll get about 470 to 505-ish in my experience. By getting the 550K pots, you're guaranteed to get at least 500 and up to 550, sometimes even 600K. Higher the K rating on your pots, the brighter it'll end up being. Your guitar will sound more open. So in the case of 2 of my traditionals, they had 300K pots. And the gold top too, actually. 300K pots in the volumes. And what that does, it almost kind of, the sound's not quite as open, not as bright, not as lively. As soon as I swap those to the 500K pots, 550K pots, it livens up the guitar. It's got more girth to this. It's just more open and brighter sounding. So before you change pickups in your Les Paul, if your problem is it sounds dark and kind of 2D, check your pots first. You do that, and then if you still need pickups, then go that route. Most pickup makers will not tell you that. They want to sell you pickups. I just want you to play guitar. These tone capacitors are awesome. I'm usually, I speak highly of Emerson paper and oil tone caps, and they're great, but they're now $38 to $40 a piece here in Canada. If you're in the States, you probably get them way cheaper. But these are about, I can't remember, but they're definitely a heck of a lot less. And they sound pretty close to the Emersons. So I've been testing these, and these are going to be my new go-to. They're the Sozo Next Gen, probably paper and oil type caps. These are awesome. They sound great. That's what I'm running here. That's my new go-to because the Emersons are too fucking expensive. That's the cavity. So if you got a dark Les Paul, check your pots. And if your pots are reading low, then you're going to want to swap those. Makes a bigger difference on the volume pots than the tone pots. As far as brightness goes, you'll hear more of a difference swapping the volumes. For some reason, I don't know why, but Gibson was putting 300K volume pots and 500K tone pots. If I had 4 pots for a guitar and 2 were reading in the 500s and 2 of them were reading in the 300s, I put the 500s in the volumes, 300s in the tone. You get a better result that way. Yeah, let's string this thing up. I'm putting just a little bit of lemon oil on the fretboard. You don't need much, just a little bit. Helps clean and condition it. You don't need to buy the expensive stuff at a music store when you could just get this at, like, I don't know where you would get it in the States, but in Canada here you just get a Canadian Tire. Been using it for years. It works awesome. It's a great cleaner, degreaser, and conditioner as well. Just helps keep everything nice. Helps kind of clean off some of the dirt off the frets too. And for strings, I use these. So I use the 1149 or 1046. Depends on the guitar and the tuning. So this particular guitar here, I play with the band a lot with this one, especially for a lot of practicing and stuff. And we tune a half step down, so I use these. When I'm tuning standard, I go to 10s, and you get about the same feel. So that's what we're going to use today. I have tried the NYXLs. I've tried, what else do they have? All the different versions of the new stuff. And I don't like the feel of either of them. I've even tried the Ernie Ball Cobalts and the Paradigms and all that. I don't like the feel of any of them. And I find they don't sound that great. There's a certain brightness to the, especially the NYXLs, but they feel dirty right out of the pack. Personal preference. I find that these regular XLs last just as long, if not longer, sound better, and they don't cost as much. And if you get a deal, even better. So I got these from Oxbow Audio last time I was there to drop off the 72 Telly from the previous video. There was a deal on these, so I ordered a couple of packs of these. 10s and 11s. So when you get a deal on them, buy as much as you can. So right now I'm looking at about $5 a pack by going with a 10 set. Sometimes I wonder, as far as strings go, how much of it is snake oil, because man, like even like a regular pack of the Dario XLs in Canada, you're looking about, forget how much it is, like under $10. But you look at the NYXLs and they're pushing close to 20. What's the point? Like what's so different about them? There's got to be something, but it doesn't seem enough for me to warrant paying twice the price for strings that'll do the job when you could just do, you know, the regulars. But my experience between the Dario and Ernie Ball has been that for some reason Ernie Ball just sounds buzzier. And I find when they start to wear in, they get dark real quick. But a lot of people like them, so go figure. All right, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna show this over on this end. Excuse the mess here, but. So on a Les Paul, I don't want to put, like, don't tie your strings to this. If someone tells you, oh, you got to do a tie or don't do that. It's pointless. It's annoying, especially for a guitar tech to have to, like the amount of times I've drawn blood by pricking my finger trying to untie this shit. Don't do that. Okay? I pull the string out about, let's see. The big string's about a fret, right? So you pull this tight, you grab it at the nut, go to the first fret, there you go, right? Then I bend this up, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, by hand here, wrap the string around once above this, right? And then every other string after, every other turn after will go below this. And that will pinch the tail of the string tail and essentially lock it in place. So you don't need to tie it, right? So you just got to make sure that you turn it around the right way so that you want the string to come off the post to the nut on the inside, not on the outside, right? Not on this side, towards the center. So, right, so we got like this, you kink the string, then I'm gonna go to the left side around to the right, okay? I don't know if you could see that. Right, see how it's twisted? I'm going around the top of this, okay? And then the next wrap is going to go under that tail. See if I can angle this a little better. I don't know if you can see that, but if you can, great. If not, well, we tried. And then with the tension, that's going to pinch right here. You also want to check on the other end to make sure that you're on the saddle. That's it. Cut and repeat. So same thing. You go in, pull it snug, grab the string behind the nut, pull it to the first fret, give it a locking kink here. And then kink it on this side, right? So you're getting like a zigzag, right? Wrap it around the top, pull it tight. That wraps underneath the bottom. So on a Les Paul, what that does, and don't be afraid to kind of push it so that it all lines up. Use your fingernail or whatever. So what that does on the Les Paul is it eliminates having to have the string push all the way down, although these tuners here don't have much of a peg height here, but it locks it here by pinching it off, and you're not pushing this down too far. So you're not getting as much break angle here, right? So that tuning stability is better. If you have a lot of down pressure, it's going to bind here, and that's one of the main issues of tuning stability on a Gibson is your nut. So you want to make sure that's cut right, and you can use graphite pencil to lube that up. But then string it this way. And you're solid. Right? So same thing. The next one. Right? Pull it tight. Grab it behind the nut. Pull it to the first fret. Kink it over here. Turn it a bit so you can kind of lock it in like this. One wrap around the top. The rest of the turns underneath. Give her a cut. Now for the unwound strings, same thing, but you're kind of going the other way. It's a little trickier, and we'll see how it is with the camera set up here. Now with these, because the string's not as fat too, you can pull it a little bit further than the first fret, about halfway. Right? So I've pulled it, I've kinked it here. So just to show you what I'm doing, so turn it this way, kink it on the other side. See, now you've got like that shape in there. Okay? Now on this one, we have to go around this side and then back towards the middle of the headstock. And I'm holding it with my finger down, not touching this, but just adding tension here, and then with my thumb here, adding tension up. So you always got tension on the string as you're turning it. So it stays tight, it stays clean. And if you're doing it this way already, then good for you. You're doing it right. If this is too much work for you, what are you, a millennial or something? If that's too much work for you, then come to a guy like me. I'll do it for you at a fee. But really, it's not that much work. But in the end, you get a better result because you're going to be in tune. You're going to stay in tune better. And if you stay in tune, you sound better. And if you sound better, you feel good, so you play better. If you play better, then you sound even better, and the crowd hears it and feels it. Or you capture it on record if you're recording. All right, last one, we're going to wrap this up. It's a pretty boring video. So if you're still watching this now, or you didn't skip ahead, then you're probably pretty bored. That's okay. I don't have a life either. Probably why I'm sitting here talking to myself. Here's an idea. If you're watching this and you have a question or an idea for something that you don't know, or something you're like, hey, I wonder if he knows this or that. Some kind of topic you'd like me to talk about or cover. If you have a question of any sort, let me know in the comments, right? There you go. All I have to do now is stretch out the strings and tune it back up until it's stable. Big one is you want to push them at the saddle here. Kind of that break angle. Do the same here on the nut. You'll see it'll be out of tune again. Oh, not bad. All right, so that's that. You know what? Before I wrap this up, I got something for you. So here's the innards of a 59er. So these are hand-aged covers. I don't know if you can see. They have the sheen, but like a vintage patina kind of thing going. And they've got the string marks on there. Right, so these are they're raw nickel covers. And I hand polish them, hand age them. They're indented like the old guys. All in an effort to try and make it look as legit as possible, right? Not to rip anyone off. This is to give you that look, right? So you got the sound and the look. And I'm trying to replicate that look with these covers. So these are hand aged. They're all different because each one, they lean one way or another. They take the aging process different. But these are the covers I use. So same covers as on the guitar we just restrung here. Right, and you got the German silver bass plates, the long leg bass plates, just like the old guys. Right, the old original P.A.F.s. These are modern reproductions. Nothing that is unattainable. These are, you find these. They're good quality stuff. They're not the cheapest around, but that's how you see. If you get brass ones of these, you lose top end. You lose clarity. Right, so every little piece of this. Of these pickups, if you cut corners, it's like a recipe, right? If you use all high-end, good quality, fresh ingredients, your dish is going to taste a lot better. And if you start cheaping out on stuff like dry herbs instead of fresh herbs, it'll still taste fine, but it won't be as good, right? The end result is not the same. I'd rather these cost me more to make with the end result of a higher price, which is still pretty competitive with everyone else, but having the very best I can make by not skimping on the materials. So those are the base plates. The bobbins are butyrate, just like the old ones, right? If you smell them, they smell like butt. Like they have a smell to them that's not great, but that's the same plastic they used for bobbins, same plastic they used for pickup mounting rings back in the 50s. So these are the ones we use, right? You got the pole screw ones, and then the slug ones, right? So you get a slug bobbin and a screw bobbin on each, right? And that, add the coil wire on that. There's your pickup, right? You got, I don't have them here, but maple spacers for the non-screw side, right? So this goes, these are the keeper bars. These are steel keeper bars. They go underneath. Screws, the pole screws go through, and they go through here, and it mounts like that. And then you've got a space here for the magnet. Whereas these, you don't get one of these. So you put a maple spacer on this side underneath them, right? And then the magnet goes down the middle. And those are all fastened to these with these little brass non-ferrous screws. And then the magnets. So in this case, for this, these are rough cast Alnico 4 magnets, right? So that goes in the middle. You've got your keeper bar, your screw side coil. You'd have a maple spacer here, your slug side coil, just like that. Cover over top. There's a humbucker. There's a, you know, a P.A.F. There's a 50-niner in this case. So this will be a 50-niner at some point. Right now, you look at these parts and you're like, well, that's probably cheap to get. Well, when you start to add up this and this and this and this, and a magnet, and then wood spacers that I cut by hand and shape, right? You hand age the covers, the coil wire itself. You got to use the right coil wire. There's a cost to that. It adds up, and then the hours it takes to wind these, to make these, to assemble these, and get them ready for shipping. A lot of time involved too, right? Could I get cheaper parts? Can I use cheaper bobbins? Absolutely, but you're not going to get the same plastic. You're not going to get the same inner dimensions either, right? Can you get a cheaper base plate? Well, yeah, you can. You can get brass, or you can get the short leg ones that have holes on both sides. They're not the same. And the brass ones are not the same quality. You're going to get less top end, less clarity, less open sound, right? And then covers, you know, you want something that isn't brass or isn't some other kind of metal, right? So this is raw nickel, hand polished. They look like the old ones. So you put it all together, you know, if they're being wound by someone who cares, right? There's value here. So that's what's in a 50-niner. There's a few other pieces missing, like the braided wire, which I don't have up here, but I thought I'd show this real quick. This is what I put together for a 50-niner. You can get cream bobbins, you can do zebra, but this is kind of like the base of it. So cool. We're all restrung. You saw the guts of a 50-niner. That's pretty good for a Friday. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for hanging out. We got to restring this guy. You've seen how I like to restring this, right? Don't tie your strings on there. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do it like this. You'll have no issues with tuning stability. If you do, then it's going to be your nut. But there you go. We restrung this guy. Update on the PRS neck pickup that we fixed a few videos ago still works, so that's all good to go. And yeah, and then you got to see what my 50-niners are made from, right? What parts. I'm not really reinventing the wheel here. It's just my take on recreating the P.A.F. as best I can, and they sound really good. They do the trick. The key thing to remember about P.A.F.s is they weren't all the same. You know, they all varied in outputs. Some of them sounded great, some of them not so much. But they varied in magnets, right? They varied in output, the amount of turns on each coil and stuff. That's why you get all kinds of different P.A.F. sounds, and everyone's chasing to reproduce one, or reproduce that pickup from so-and-so's burst, whatever. I take a different approach. I'm just trying to capture the essence of what goes into a P.A.F. and what is a P.A.F. And I get good results that way. So I'm not trying to replicate any one specific set. It's just made with good parts. I'm not cheaping out on parts. And yeah, so you got to see what they look like inside. Yeah, so other than that, have a great weekend. To any viewers in the States who are celebrating Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. Eat lots, love lots, and we'll see you next time.